so we're drifting into the realm of I don't really know what I'm doing, so don't do what I'm doing. I know I want to glue my watercolor to a board, and I'm going to use this golden regular gel mat, and then I know I want to put this cold wax medium on the show side of the watercolor. Well, let's see how our flattening process did. So these were fairly cupped, and right now they look pretty good. Alright, they came out pretty flat. No real wrinkles, so that's good. To apply the gel mat, we'll start with some parchment paper. That seems like a good idea. I really don't want any on the front of it, so I'm going to try to be real careful to just keep it to the back. You need enough on there that it'll stick, but not too much either, that it'll kind of bubble up. I have this leftover piece of walnut plywood 1/4 inch that I'm going to use. Alright, that'll hang out while I do the other one. So this is the consistency I'm looking for. Alright, so I'm a little nervous I screwed this up, but let's see how we did. Looks like all edges are down. And yeah, no damage, so that's great. Okay, from here I'm gonna do some cold wax medium. Just rub it all over and then let that dry. So the best way to tell that you're covering everything is to put a light on the far side so you can see the shine coming off the piece. So right now this one's done, this one is not done, so we should be able to see the one in the foreground go from matte to have a little shine at the light. That way you can tell if you missed any spots. And I try to finish it all with one direction. I don't think it matters, but it just feels more appropriate to me. Alright, let's make some frames. Now, this is not my favorite thing to do, but if you're a woodworker, you probably have to build a lot of these. So these panels are 1/4 inch thick, actually a little narrower than 1/4 inch thick, and this is on a canvas board, and I'm going to mount it to another piece of 1/4 inch. So, so when you're picking out your wood for this, I mean, this is a little bit more than 3/4 of an inch thick that I milled some while back. This is white oak. 3/4 of an inch is probably the minimum you want to go, so that you can make a nice rabbet and have this fit in and still have some meat on the front and meat on the back to mount it. So this piece right here is 2 3/4 inches wide. I think I'm going to be able to get 2 frames out of this that are each about 1 inch and 1/8, 1.25 inches thick. The other option would be to make a thin frame that's edge on. That would get all these rays in here. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Let's see, if we do that, still think we're only going to get 2 out of it. Yeah, let's try that. That'll be a fun difference. We're going to do a frame that is, this is the show side, not this plain milled side, this side. So yeah, let's get that started. Alright, so we got the oak cut. The next thing I do is set it up so that the grain wraps around the frame. So I usually pick a good starting spot. And I start at this corner and we'll go all the way around till we get back. So then I figure out how much I want to overlap it. Alright, so that's our first cut. And lay this out where I had it. So the next one. And then I'm actually going to move this so that I'll cut this straight through first before I do the angles. It's easier to have all this laid out beforehand. That way I can use a stop block and get the sides and the top and bottom exactly the same. Alright, so this, now that I've got this laid out, this is right, and that's the top. So then this gets turned 90 degrees. Lay that on the angle. Get our other angle. This is also top. At this point it doesn't have to be perfect because if I actually cut the 45s, then that's when I'll do the shaping, and then when I cut the rabbets, that way I'll know exactly where I want it to be. Let's try it one more time. Alright, so right here is the 45, and then what I'm doing is I'll do a straight line down, and then another straight line So this is approximately the width of the saw blade. I don't want to make these two angles too close together. That way they'll overlap, or when I cut it vertically, it's going to chop off the edges. Alright, so this piece right here is the left hand side, that being the top. So that's what we got for now. I'm going to make two identical pieces. So what I can do is transfer over these lines. Alright, so in 2020 I made this frame making jig. What's kind of good about it is it has an A side and a B side, and if you always lay out your pieces and cut it A, B, A, B, A, B all the way around, even though this is pretty spot on to 90, any errors will cancel each other out and you'll end up with a square piece in the end. Alright, so first thing you gotta do is lay out your frame in the orientation you want it, and then alternating pieces will get B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A. That way, one B side will get cut first, then you'll rotate it around to the A side. With the frame jig, if you commit to making the frame jig and you do it in this kind of fashion each time, it ends up not taking too much of your time. So that's why I built it. That's why it's worth building, because I built a lot of frames over the past couple of years and it's been really helpful. Alright, so we're making two identical frames, so we got the tops and the bottoms of each, because all those are going to be cut the same way. So first thing we're going to do is lay out the B side. Just want to make sure we double check all our measurements. That looks right. Alright, I like that. So then to set up this side, we're going to line up as best as we can, and actually we're going to go a little shy, and then I have this 45-degree stop that comes in here. This way we'll be able to cut all of our pieces exactly the same. So the reason I like to cut the miters first and then cut the rabbets out for the piece is that I can fit the frame to the exact size of the piece. I never really think ahead and plan the piece so that it's something that I could subtract 1/4 of an inch from each side and then make a frame with just measurements. I'm always building the piece to always building the frame to the exact size of the piece. So basically what I want to do here, center it up pretty good, and then draw a line. That's going to be where the border of the rabbit's going to be on the sides. Then I'll come here, top and bottom. Alright, and then just as a sanity check, see how close I got to center. Alright, that's pretty good. So now I'll come over to the table saw and cut the rabbets that the piece is going to fit into. Alright, so my plan is just to cut off this section with the X, and that's going to be where the piece goes. So we're going to use the table saw to cut this rabbit out. First thing I'll do is set the height that I want to cut out. And then the next thing I'm going to set is how far it goes in. Alright, and I'm going to cut both long pieces at the same time, leaving the top and bottom. So I'm back here now to test the fit. I'm looking for that this piece sits comfortably between the two grooves. I may have actually overshot it a little bit, but that'll work great. The tool, the picture framing point device, will actually hold it in the exact orientation that I'm looking for. Alright, now with all the pieces cut and fit, the last thing to do is to take off this center piece so my piece can fit inside. Alright, so like before, the first thing I'll do is I'll set my height, and then I'll set my depth of cut. This is a little hard to see because I gotta kind of come all the way over. Biggest thing here is you're gonna keep your waist side on the outside. That'll keep it from getting trapped between the blade and the fence and getting shot back at you. Now we got our final test fit before we go with glue. Yep, pretty solid fit. I have a little play left and right. That's okay, I can figure that out when I mount it. But yeah, looks good. And there's enough material left on the back to get my picture points in. But yeah, I'll leave that to set for tonight. I have my two frames made. They came out pretty good. The notch in the back here for the pieces. Couple misses in the glue up. Didn't quite, the cut's not perfect. This one's pretty good. Very light seam. This one is even like sort of off 45, kind of slipped out. A little bit of a ledge here. but there's still a lip. So what I'm gonna go do is, so how you fix this, here's the seam, it has a little bit of a gap. Just gonna cram some glue in there. Cram some glue on the top. Really smush it in. Alright. And so now this seam is a lot tighter looking. It's going to be almost invisible once there's some finish on it. And you get that good grain wrap all the way around. So I'm just going to go through and clean up all the corners. Make sure they're nice and sanded and ready for some finish. Alright, we got our 2 frames sanded up, looking good. The other thing with making 2 of these at once, I'm actually going to choose one of them that I like less and burn it with a torch, so we get a little burned. So one will be black and one will be the natural color. I was looking at them and I like this one a bit more than this one. Yeah, this one has a few color discolorations that maybe are hard to pick up on camera, but they look a little odd. So I think actually burning it will even all that out, and it'll just be a nice black piece of oak. I am, before I do that, going to break all the edges so that it feels good in your hand. Doesn't take too much effort. Also breaking the inside edges here. Alright, from here I'm going to do a little bit of wire brushing.
Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next week.